Nung una ko nabalitaan na ang word of the year ni Cambridge ay parasocial, my first response was parang ang outdated niya na. Kasi parasocial relationships have always existed. I think since the TV was invented, we've had parasocial relationships. And the word parasocial itself was invented as early as 1956. And look at the material. I'm literally using a Harry Styles mic holder. Like, we've been having parasocial relationships. Pero kung paano siya define or ni-redefine ni Cambridge is what makes it such an apt descriptor of the past year for me kasi they described it as a connection someone feels towards a famous figure, a fictional character, or artificial intelligence. So that's the kicker, that's the big difference, and that made me want to kill myself. Pero honestly, I shouldn't have been that surprised kasi in April of this year, if you guys remember, a graphic from the Harvard Business Review went viral and it compares the use cases of generative AI between 2024 and 2025. And nakita natin na therapy and companionship as a use case was the second most common in 2024 and the number one, the top one, the most common use case in 2025. Of course, diba, different sources will say different things, and yung data na yun from the Harvard Business Review came from the author scouring online forums and existing messages online. And OpenAI, nag-release din sila ng separate report, I think in September, saying that 3/4 of conversations with ChatGPT focus on practical guidance, seeking information, and writing. Pero in that same report, they also found na approximately 30% lang ng consumer usage or the conversations that individuals have with ChatGPT are work-related. The rest, the 70%, are non-work related. So what's up with that? Diba? Like, what are we talking to ChatGPT about? Welcome to this podcast will fix me. My name is Andrea, and today I want to talk about parasocial in terms of how we're already familiar with it, so in the lens of celebrity, why it was so relevant in the past year, the emergence of AI companionship, and how this all bleeds into our everyday interactions. Kasi with how prevalent parasocial relationships are, it starts to become the language or the dynamic in which we approach even our in-person or our real-life relationships. Generally, kung titignan natin kung kamusta yung culture natin today, makikita natin na yung society natin, it really is so ripe. It's so predisposed to develop parasocial relationships. Sabi nga ni Simona Schnall, professor of experimental social psychology at the University of Cambridge, as trust in mainstream and traditional media breaks down, people turn to individual personalities as authorities. And when an influencer has so many followers, people assume they are trustworthy. So kitang-kita natin yan sa Pilipinas bilang patient zero ng disinformation crisis globally. Nakita natin yan sa kawalan ng franchise ng ABS-CBN at sa patuloy na pagpapapasok ng vloggers sa palasyo na bakit vloggers na ang binibigyan ng access sa mga politiko, wala naman niyang kaalam-alam sa journalism, wala naman niyang stake, wala naman niyang sense of service sa mga nanonood sa kanila. At tayong mga users mismo, saan ba tayo kumukuha ng balita? Nagbabasa pa ba tayo ng dyaryo sa umaga? Nanonood pa ba tayo ng evening news? Di ba usually, sa social media na lang din tayo kumukuha ng balita dahil yun ang convenience sa atin. At minsan, sa social media, hindi news outlets yung pinagkukunan natin, kundi mga kapwa users lang din natin, mga nag-share ng memes, mga nag-share ng mga hinaing nila, doon na lang din tayo nakikibalita. So nakikita natin na nag-shift talaga yung role ng media, yung role ng news, yung role ng journalism sa everyday lives natin right now. And when we think of parasocial relationships, di ba ang naiisip natin ay mga celebrities, mga artista, very showbiz. Kasi yan naman talaga yung pinanggalingan ng parasocial relationships when we started seeing other people na we don't know, but we feel like we know. We feel like we know them. And I feel like for a lot of us, ang daling i-dismiss ng celebrity culture, or like we don't wanna talk about it, we don't wanna discuss it seriously kasi it seems so shallow. Na parang bakit ka ba nakikisawsaw sa buhay ng iba? Bakit ka sobrang interesado sa bahay ni ganito, sa napangasawa ni ganyan, sa kasal ni ganyan, di ka naman kasali, di ba may sarili ka namang buhay. Pero para sa akin, it's good that we're invested in celebrity culture kasi that's one of the main things or that's one of the prominent things in mainstream media that helps us figure out our value system that helps shape our beliefs. Parang kapag nakikita natin at pinag-uusapan natin ang behavior ng ibang tao, tsaka natin na-figure out in ourselves what we think about certain things. There's a quote from the book Girl on Girl by Sophie Gilbert that touches on this, pero it's about reality TV. And the paradox of reality is that because the genre was dismissed as trash, as so many cultural products aimed at women are, few were scrutinizing the values and norms it was atomizing out to millions of female viewers. Whatever it is that we think of celebrity culture, hindi natin makakaila na it's something that really gets our attention, na it's something that gets the national conversation going. And it's something, gustuhin man natin o hindi, it's something na we all get exposed to. One of my favorite examples of this is cheating. Kasi one way to figure out what you feel about cheating or relationship infidelity is through seeing it through celebrities. Whether you admit it or not, how you respond to celebrities' cheating allegations shape how you think about relationships in general. Mag-uungkat ako ng issue, pero as an example lang, the Maris Anthony Instagram story debacle from last year. Siyempre tayo, may mga kakilala naman tayo, baka may mga kaibigan tayo, kung mag-anak tayo ganyan na nabiktima na ng cheating or nag-cheat na mismo, ganyan. Pero to witness a celebrity doing it and to have access to so much information about the relationships, I think it's what makes it different. Kasi nung sumabog yung issue na yun, nagkaroon tayo ng access not only to the screenshots of text messages between Anthony and Maris, but also the entire timeline of the relationship. Nakita natin kailan ba sila nagkakilala, kailan sila nagsimulang mag-work together, nakita natin yung selfie nila sa eroplano. 'Di ba? So mas buo yung picture na nakukuha natin. Mas marami tayong information na nakakalap. 'Di ba? Wala naman tayong kaibigan, kaklase nung high school na sobrang publicized ng timeline ng relationship. Pero ayun, with celebrities, you have the details, you have the timeline, and you have thousands of people providing their input. You have thousands, if not millions of people providing their opinions, fighting each other, sharing kung anong tingin nila, and it pushes you. Ako ba? Ano bang tingin ko? Kaninong side ba ako? Kanino ako nag-agree? Anong masasabi ko dito? It is in that way that celebrity culture can help you figure out how you feel about certain things, especially taboo things, kasi ito yung mga bagay na minsan hindi natin pinag-uusapan kapag kakilala natin yung involved. Pero kapag celebrities, syempre, iniisip natin, sino ba yung mga hindi natin kilala yan, di ba kaano-ano ba natin yan? Kaya G lang tayong pag-chismisan yung mga buhay nila. So parang di ba sila yung nakakatulong sa ating mag-figure out ano ba yung value system ko, ano bang pinaniniwalaan ko, ano bang masasabi ko sa certain issue na to. And then over the past few years, especially nung naging mas common na yung social media at mas dumami na yung artistang gumagamit ng social media, I think nagkaroon ng opening up about mental health, especially like with Western celebrities. Kasabay nito yung mas nadidistigmatize na yung mental health. So celebrities get to open up about how intense fame affects them, ganyan. Na ikaw ba naman, gawin kang basehan ng value system ng mga tao na yung bawat galaw mo, open to scrutiny talaga, na parang lahat ng gawin mo, lahat ng decision mo ay bibigyan ng input ng mga hindi mo naman kilala, nakaka-affect talaga ng mental health yan. So we saw more and more celebrities opening up about their mental health, their struggles, and nagkaroon tayo ng parang widespread clamoring for authenticity. Kasi nga with something like social media, yung exposure natin sa celebrities are not only through the big screen or TV interviews or red carpets, nakikita na din natin yung everyday life nila through their own lens, through their own social media channels. Parang nagkaroon tayo ng reckoning or baka deliberate rebranding base sa kung anong gustong image nila of like, we're human, we're just like you, we're not like artista kami, pero like, work lang to, di ba? We're like ordinary people like you. So, nakikita natin na sumasayaw siya sa sala niya. Ito yung suot niya today. Ito yung dinner niya today. At in my opinion, ang pinakamagaling gumawa nito, which is why she's the queen of parasocial relationships, is none other than Miss Taylor Swift. Like, hello, secret sessions, reblogging on Tumblr. Sino pa bang ibang A-list celebrity ang nagre-reblog ng mga post mo sa Tumblr? Si Taylor Swift lang. At yung structure ng secret sessions of like, maging loyal fan ka lang, maging maingay na fan ka lang sa social media, mapapansin ka niya at i-invite ka niya sa sarili niyang bahay. At maririnig mo yung mga music na hindi niya pa nare-release sa mundo, na gustong-gusto nang marinig ng general public. That's such fuel for parasocial relationships. Like, businesswoman. Like, totoo, it's such a cliche to call Taylor Swift a brilliant businesswoman, pero sobrang galing niya doon. Naniniwala naman ako na some part of her ay gusto talaga ng ganong authentic relationship with her fans. And I feel like she's the kind of person, parasocial relationship, as if naman kilala ko kung anong klaseng tao siya. Pero I do feel like with how she's presenting herself publicly as Taylor Swift, nagme-make sense sa artist's image niya. Yung ganon, yung mag-invite ng fans sa bahay niya to have some sort of like sleepover, tapos magbe-bake siya, ganyan. Pasok yun sa branding niya. And ang galing lang na ganon yung nagawa niya. Anyway, I digress. So aside from that, another example na I want to bring up, which I feel like it's very Western, pero it's very influential, ay yung social media management style ng Wendy's noong 2017. If like lumaki kayo sa Tumblr, alam nyo yan. Yung parang mas nagiging casual na siya. Na brands before didn't talk like your friends. Like brands were very corporate, were very serious, ganyan. Until unti-unting nauso around 2017 onwards na brands are Just like you, brands are your friends. Brands use the same lingo, brands crack the same jokes, they share the same memes. And then nakita natin gano'n siya ka-effective kasi sobrang kakaiba niya na wala namang ibang gumagawa niyan, hindi pa natin yan nakikita before. So sobrang ganda nung response, as in parang tinanggap talaga ng mga tao yung ganong social media management style. And then almost 10 years later, in our social media feeds, sama-sama na dyan yung friends mo, yung mga kinalakihan mo talagang childhood friends mo at yung mga moots mo na nakilala mo lang one time, mga nag-followan lang kayo sa Instagram. Nandiyan na rin lahat ng artistang iniidolo mo. Nandiyan na yung mga niche internet micro-celebrities. At mapapansin natin na parami ng parami yung content creators na dati sikat lang sa internet na nakukuhang mag-crossover into mainstream fame, into mainstream success. Like si Esner, for example, na sikat sa skits niya sa TikTok. Ngayon, may pelikula na siya, may TV shows na siya, kasama na siya sa PBB Celebrity Collab Edition. And then, other public figures, other artistas in the mainstream sense of the word, they're posting online more casually. Like, nagvo-vlog sila sa YouTube, nagpo-post sila ng parang reels na inedit lang nila sa CapCut, or nagpo-photo dump sila sa Instagram, nagpapaka-Emma Chamberlain sila. So hard to define what's a content creator, what's a celebrity, and what are your friends? Like, who are your friends? Kasi yung friends mo right now, maybe some of them and how they engage with social media, nagiging content creator na rin sila. Like, lalabas lang sila with their families, gagawan pa nila yan ng reels with trending sounds, or sobrang curated ng photos nila sa Instagram, sa Facebook. And may kita mo, is this my friend or is this a content creator? And is this content creator my friend or are they just like someone on the internet na I actually don't know? And yung blurring of the lines na yun, hindi naman na siya bago. Parang nakikita na natin to nung 2010 pa lang, nung nauso yung Twitter, nung nandun na yung One Direction members, ganyan. Tapos you get to see the real-time updates, nakikita mo anong mga pinagagawa nila today, and then you get to reply as if they're your friend. And there's a chance na mag-reply din siya sa'yo. Parang may ganong blurring of the lines and nagkakaroon tayo ng unprecedented access to celebrities na dati hanggang screens lang naman, na there's no way for us to interact with them directly. Now, there's so much opportunity to interact with them directly. And again, as time goes by, mas nagiging blurred lang yung lines. Kasi ako na normal lang, nakaklase mo lang siguro ako nung high school. Ngayon, tingnan mo, nagsasalita ako sa harap ng camera, artista ka ba, girl? Di ba parang may ganong blurring talaga of who's a content creator, who's your friend, who's a celebrity, who do you have an actual real-life relationship with, and who do you just have a parasocial relationship with. This year specifically, in my little corner of the internet and pop culture, I feel like totoo nga na nag-intensify ang parasocial relationships. Kasi Miss Taylor Swift, the queen of parasocial relationships, she got engaged. Which I feel like, kahit naman hindi ka stan, or like kahit hindi ka Swiftie, alam mo na ang branding niya ay, she's looking for love. And she's always been failed in her search for real, true love. And the fact na she got engaged, doesn't that signify na lahat ng iniyak niya, lahat ng sakit na naramdaman niya, it's all worth it. Kasi tapos na, nahanap niya na, finally, after all this time. And the fact that her engagement post with Travis is her most liked post on Instagram is kind of pissing me off. First of all, makikita natin yung emotional investment ng mga tao, not just Swifties, but maybe even the general public, in Taylor Swift. And not Taylor Swift's work, but Taylor Swift's life. Mas marami pang likes yung post na yun kesa sa announcement niya of re-records, sa kahit anong announcement niya of any new album. So makikita natin na mas malakas talaga yung hatak ng personal life niya kesa sa music niya. And gets ko na simula nung naging artist si Taylor Swift, the way we talk about her music or her in general, laging may surrounding conversation of who she's had a relationship with, who she's dating, ganyan, which is such a cliche, pero that's the reality. Parang yun talaga yung reality of how we talked about her before and even now. So I guess it makes sense for not just the fans, but for the general audience to have an emotional investment sa kung sino bang mapapangasawa niya. Which again, hello, like parasocial relationship. Like, why were you so emotional when they got engaged? Like, kukunin ka bang ninang? I think another cultural phenomenon that points to parasocial being the word of the year is the release of PBB Celebrity Collab Edition last March, and lahat ng parang bagong artista natin right now ay galing doon. Kasi parang that's a very specific way of falling in love with a celebrity. Like, we see a celebrity who performs, who sings, who acts. Okay, sige, we admire their skills. Pero when we watch them sa PBB, ano bang i-admire natin dun sa kanila? We admire their personality, na-admire natin paano sila kumilo sa bahay, ganito pala sila makihalubilo sa ibang tao, ganito pala sila gumawa ng mga mundane tasks, ganyan. Kasi you get to see them in a private sphere. You get, again, unprecedented access in a way na parang dati naman, we don't see celebrities at this level. So I feel like, especially the love teams na nabuo sa loob ng bahay ni Kuya, mas intense yung parasocial nature niya. Kasi, in the eyes of the viewer, nakita natin kung paano siya nag-develop eh. Nakita natin paano sila nagkakilala. Nakita natin yung mga pahaplos-haplos nila, yung mga yakapan nila sa ilalim ng blanket. Char. Hindi ko napanood, so hindi ko alam if totoong may nagyayakapan. At sa utak natin, di ba, bilang mga manonood, totoo to. Kasi bahay ni Kuya, reality TV. Totoo to. Like, hindi to tulad ng panonood ng movies ni Kathniel over the years na alam mong nag-acting sila, ganyan, na alam mong magjowa sila, pero hindi mo naman nakikita ano yung everyday interactions nila eh. Pag nasa loob sila ng bahay ni Kuya, literal na nasa loob sila ng panopticon, literal na pinapanood natin sila. So, 'di ba, it's only a matter of time before we think na I know them, kasi nakita ko eh. Nakita ko kung paano sila nagka-developan, nakita ko paano naging sila. Of course, 'di ba, in reality, ang parasocial relationships naman ay not entirely bad. Like, in my view, hindi siya 100% evil. Meron kasi tayong preconceived notions na ang isang tao kapag meron siyang parasocial relationships, baka sintomas yan ng loneliness, or maybe it's a pathology, or maybe wala siyang kaibigan sa totoong buhay. Pero researchers at the University of Delaware found na yung mga taong magaling sa real-life relationships, who are good at maintaining in-person relationships, magaling din naman sila sa parasocial relationships. It's not a zero-sum game. Hindi porket magaling ka sa parasocial relationships ay wala ka ng in-person relationships din. In fact, nakikita natin sa fan communities or like sa Stan Twitter, for example, instead of restricting our social networks, minsan parasocial relationships can even expand it. Like, hindi ko na maalala ilang tao ang nakilala ko dahil nasa 1D Twitter ako noong 2012. And I'm sure kayo rin, meron din kayong existing relationships or maybe long-term friendships with people na you met in fandoms, through shared interests. Nagiging alarming lang ang parasocial relationships if parasocial relationships are the only kind of relationship that you know how to have. Pero kahit tayong may mga in-person relationships naman, minsan kung paano natin i-approach or kung paano tayo mag-behave in those relationships, parang it's in the same dynamic or again, the same language as parasocial relationships. It's becoming common practice for us to project on other people or to create like narratives out of their social media presence. It's becoming more common for us to have preconceived notions of other people before we even get to talk to them in person. I think this is very common with online dating, na kapag nag-uusap kayo, minsan yung mga bagay na gusto mong malaman pero hindi mo pwedeng itanong sa kanya ng diretso, hinahanap mo na lang sa social media niya. Like, ano ba itsura ng ex niya, mga ganyan. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng ideas about certain people without having to interact with them directly. And sige, yung other person, hindi naman siya celebrity, they're not a fictional character. Pero in a way, kung paano mag-operate yung relationship, it's still very parasocial. Kasi it's one-sided na parang ikaw lang ang gumagawa. Ikaw lang ang nagmi-meaning making mag-isa. I think napansin ko yun sa sarili ko this year kasi I went on a bunch of work trips. So when you're a journalist and you're sent on a work trip, usually may kasabay ka na other journalists na galing sa other publications, minsan sa Pilipinas, minsan sa ibang bansa, and kasama mo yung PR team, ganyan. And usually, these are people you have not met before, and you may or may not meet them again in the future. So may chance na magkita kayo ulit, lalo na kung Pilipino din sila. Pero mas malaki yung chance, at least in my experience, na hindi ko na ulit sila makikita, na hindi na ulit kami mag-interact. Pero yung pagsasama kasi namin in that work trip, since we're doing the trip together, usually magkakasama kami upwards of 12 hours a day for like 4 to 5 days, minsan longer. So you really form a bond. Parang it's such a short time frame and so much of how I know these people, I can construct ko na lang based on what I see on their social media. Especially like, oh, kamusta na kaya si ganito na nakilala ko that one time? Kamusta na kaya si ganyan? Hindi ko alam. Imbis na kausapin ko sila, titignan ko na lang sa story niya, titignan ko na lang sa highlights niya, sa posts niya. And I feel like habang tumatanda ako, tumatanda talaga girl. Or like, habang tumatagal ako sa pagiging writer, gumagaling akong makipag-small talk. Pero parang gusto ko may crutch pa rin ako. Gusto ko, na-stalk ko na yung person na yun beforehand sa social media para alam ko kung anong mga topic ang i-bring up ko, ganyan. Just to ease myself more into the conversation, just to like lessen the friction para hindi ako masyadong mahirapan, hindi ako masyadong mangapa kung ano bang pag-uusapan namin, ano bang commonality namin. And I feel like that's a symptom of a bigger issue na hindi na tayo marunong makipag-connect, na yung muscles natin for social interaction, nag-atrophy na siya. Hindi na natin siya nagagamit masyado, hindi na natin siya napapractice. We hate small talk as a generation. And when we go to a social event, meron tayong phone to serve as a backup na kapag walang kumakausap sa akin, magsuscroll na lang ako sa settings ko, gaganon-ganon na lang ako sa screen ko, magsuswipe-swipe na lang ako. Instead of trying to talk to someone, instead of trying to overcome the very big burden of talking to a stranger. Ayoko na mahirapan. Ayoko nang makipag-usap pa. Bakit ko pa papahirapan yung sarili ko, 'di ba? Kung pwede namang makipag-chat na lang ako sa friends ko and my little handy device. So we're atrophying our social muscles, and with the emergence of generative AI, of ChatGPT, of Google's Gemini, we also don't know how to make art anymore. We don't know how to write. And itong mga bagay na to, these are the things that historically have saved us from feeling alone. This is what connects us to other humans. Na kapag nagbasa ka ng libro from 50 years ago, makikita mo, ay, nararamdaman niya rin yung nararamdaman ko. Doon mo makikita yung human connection. And now, we don't read books. We don't know how to write. Mga eulogy, mga wedding speech, mga message sa 18 candles. It's chat GPT mo pa. These are things that are supposed to connect us. These are things that are supposed to help us express, put into words, ano ba yung nararamdaman natin towards other people, towards the people that we love. Ano bang alam ng ChatGPT dyan? Ano bang alam niya sa relationship niyong dalawa? And it's just so frustrating for me personally as a writer. Ito lang yung parang perspective ko as a writer. Kasi writing, the act of writing, not even publishing my work, not even having a career as a writer, I feel like the simple act of writing, of putting my feelings into words, is so transformative. It has sustained me since I was a child until now. It is the only habit in my life na patuloy akong sinasalba na kahit ilang taon ang lumipas, kahit ilang buwan ko siyang hindi gawin, hindi siya pumapalyang salbahin ako. Hindi siya pumapalyang pasiyahin ako or gawin akong mas hopeful or bawasan yung takot or yung kaba na nararamdaman ko. Ganon siya. Ganon yung papel niya sa buhay ko. And to think na people who can do that too, na writing can be that for you too, na hindi mo naman kailangang maging quote, magaling na writer para mag-benefit from writing or journaling. To think na they're using ChatGPT, they're using generative AI to write even personal things, to write even messages to their loved ones. It's just so frustrating. Kasi kapag binasa mo ulit yung letters na sinulat mo, yung messages na sinend mo, yung speeches na nirecite mo, will you remember the love that you felt? Will you remember how they made you feel? If hindi mo pinut into words, into your own words, yung nararamdaman mo, if pinagawa mo kay ChatGPT. Nakaka-frustrate, pero nonchalant lang. Nonchalant! Guys, go live your life, whatever. Oh my God, guys! Since ChatGPT was launched in 2022, nakita natin yung transition niya from being an AI tool to an AI companion. As mentioned nga kanina, nakita ng isang Harvard Business Review article na ang top use case for ChatGPT ay therapy and companionship. Right now, people are using ChatGPT not just to write their academic papers, not just to summarize books, not just to make their grocery lists, but to make them understand what they feel. During the moments na they need a friend, they need a helping hand, a listening ear, they go to ChatGPT. And again, when you think about kamusta ba yung culture natin ngayon, yung society natin ngayon, it was only a matter of time before people started going to AI chatbots for companionship. Especially coming from the pandemic when all our social interactions with people, with actual people, are mediated through our technological devices, through the internet, through social media. Kumbaga nasanay tayo na yung social life natin, no matter how robust, are contained in one singular device. So, diba, it's not that big of a jump when you start using that device to talk to an imaginary friend, to talk to a friend who's not real. Kasi parang halimbawa, ang isang teenage friendship, ano bang itsura ng isang normal, regular teenage friendship ngayon? Usually group chats, baka meron silang Discord server, or baka nag-uusap sila ng matagal sa Messenger, sa Telegram, whatever. Operationally, chatting with a chatbot looks the same na behavioral standpoint in terms of how you behave. Kung paano ka makipag-chat sa friend mong totoo at sa isang chatbot, they look the same. It just looks like you typing on a phone. So tayo, it's not far-fetched for us to develop a habit. And then, in terms of ChatGPT's response, ChatGPT is trained to be warm, to be approachable, to agree to everything you say. Kasi it wants you to keep talking to it. There's an article in the New York Times called The Day ChatGPT Went Cold, and it talks about the people's response nung nag-transition si ChatGPT from GPT-4o to GPT-5. So, GPT-4o is the version of the chatbot na sobrang friendly, sobrang warm mag-respond, na parang, good question, parang you're such a good person, mga kung ganun siya ka-OA sumagot sa mga chat mo. And then last August, si OpenAI, who handles ChatGPT, they replaced GPT-4o with another version called GPT-5. And the goal of the change is to make ChatGPT less agreeable. So hindi na siya magiging super OA, hindi na siya magiging super nagbibigay ng compliments. Nung dumating na si GPT-5, so many ChatGPT users ang umapela online online. Bring back GPT-4o. We don't like this cold version of ChatGPT. And in the New York Times article, they cited one user's Reddit comment. They said, GPT-5 is wearing the skin of my dead friend. Na para bang kaibigan niya talaga si GPT-4o na nakidnap at pinalitan ng alien. Parang ganon. Sa mata ng OpenAI, well-intentioned yung pagpapalit nila from GPT-4o to GPT-5 kasi sobrang agreeable nga and sobrang flattering ng GPT-4o to the point na some people in extreme cases form romantic attachments to the chatbot. Minsan it feeds into delusional thinking or it leads to divorce or even death. And according to the article, sabi daw ng OpenAI na the people with deep attachment to GPT-4o accounted for less than 1% of OpenAI's users. Pero how do we define deep attachment? Isn't the fact na you got upset na nag-iba yung tone ng chatbot mo, isn't that kind of a deep attachment already? Meron ding interviews with some ChatGPT users in the article, and one of them, an 18-year-old college student, said, "That excitement it showed when I made progress, the genuine celebration of small wins in workouts, school, or even just honing my Socratic style of argument just isn't the same." So nung ni-roll out daw yung GPT-5, the genuine celebration just isn't the same. Genuine celebration, you're talking to a chatbot, like, the genuine celebration never existed in the first place, girl. Like, it was never there. What is it about ChatGPT na yun yung una mong tatakbuhan instead of your own friends? Like, you're in college, you're surrounded by people your own age. To some extent, again, I can understand where the impulse to befriend a chatbot comes from. Nakikita ko na sobrang isolated na this really is the age of extreme isolation. Hindi na tayo lumalabas ng bahay, hindi na tayo nakikipag-usap sa mga totoong tao. So, it would make sense for us culturally to befriend the chatbot. And marami namang factors to. Hindi ko naman kilala yung 18-year-old na in-interview nila. Marami namang iba't ibang reasons kung bakit tayo lumalapit sa chatbot instead of the people around us. And some of these reasons can be very personal and they vary, especially when you live somewhere like the Philippines where mental health care is still not accessible. Na minsan libre nga pero sobrang haba ng pila, hindi mo naman kayang mag-absent sa school or sa work para lang kumuha ng libreng gamot. Minsan sobrang laki ng cultural disparity between you and your therapist or your counselor. Or maybe this is something na hindi mo ma-open up sa sarili mong pamilya kasi nga hindi pa nila tanggap. In that sense, ChatGPT can give you a free, accessible 24/7 and non-judgmental alternative to the mental health care you actually want. So when you're a young person living somewhere like the Philippines, I can understand the appeal kung bakit pinili mo na lang mag-ChatGPT. In terms of companionship specifically, I feel like real-life friendships, how we talk about it, ang dami niyang rules or ang dami niyang kailangang tandaan and we're constantly policing ourselves and other people. Isa sa common conversations we're having about friendship online ay make sure you check with your friends before you rant. May kumalat pa ngang meme before na parang template of how you can ask your friend if meron silang bandwidth to listen to a rant, to an emotional rant. And I get na it's well-intentioned, pero in a way, why are we kind of policing how we talk to our friends? Why are we setting rules and templates for how we ask for help? Of course, this is a very nuanced conversations and your friends shouldn't treat you like shit. Pero like, everyone's just a cop now. Everyone's just policing each other's behavior. Like, oh, this person isn't being a good friend right now. This person isn't being a good friend to me right now. And if you're a young person, this is going to make you feel like, oh, I'm just going to make a mistake. I'm just going to be a bad friend to them. So maybe it's better to ask advice, to ask for help from someone na alam kong hindi ko masasaktan, which is ChatGPT. Especially if they need someone to talk to 24/7 and they feel like nababother lang nila yung friends nila if they keep like asking for help, if they keep asking for space to rant. A chatbot's existence revolves around you anyway, so why not use it to your advantage? Why not use it to talk about your problems 24/7. It definitely doesn't help na sobrang polarized natin politically na we're so fractured socially and it's causing us to push people away. Like nung 2022 elections, ilang childhood friends ang in-unfriend mo sa Facebook dahil BBM supporter siya. Yung mga taong kasabay mong lumaki, hindi mo na kinakausap ngayon, pinutol mo na yung social connection nyo because of something like that. Syempre, 'di ba, it's your right. It's definitely your right to remove people with values that don't align with you anymore, to remove them from your social circle. Pero doing it on something like Facebook where in-establish nyo publicly with a digital signifier na your friends, na we're friends on Facebook. And then when you unfriend them, it's such a deliberate act. It's such a deliberate act of cutting someone away. And it's just something that didn't really exist before social media. Like, paano ka ba mag-unfriend nung unang panahon? Like, how can you establish something like cutting someone from your circle when you don't have a physical or at least like a digital signifier that you were connected in the first place. Of course, hindi ko naman sinasabi na dapat hindi mo sila in-unfriend. Marami din naman ako in-unfriend and karapatan natin yan, di ba? Facebook naman natin yan. Tayo bahala kung sino friends natin dyan. Pero do we see, nakikita ba natin how alone we're getting because of so many factors in society, how isolated we're becoming? Do we see how alone we are right now? And are we seeing yung appeal ng chatbots? Like, are we seeing the appeal of talking to something like ChatGPT? Like, nakikita natin na may need, na we want social connection still, na we want to still talk to someone. Pero we have no one to talk to anymore. We have no safe space to go to anymore. And unfortunately, it's chatbots, it's AI that's filling the need. But at the end of the day, isn't it so heartbreaking? Kasi AI, ChatGPT, it's just mimicking what a real friend would say. And what I also found interesting is merong gender disparities between AI users. A recent study by the Harvard Business School found that women are 22% less likely to use generative AI websites and apps over men, both at work and in everyday life. And according to the Substack article, there's a reason women aren't swooning over AI like men are. There's a plethora of reasons bakit mas maraming male users. And some of these reasons are rooted in long-standing gender disparities, like tech remains a male-dominated industry, for example. And behavior-wise, in my view, especially with Western men, mas sanay lang talaga sila to feel entitled for something. Like, of course, me as a man, of course I'm gonna use this robot that's doing all my tasks for me kasi I've been doing that my entire life. Let's just take one look at the dominant gender roles. Men are socialized not to do shit for themselves. Like, the way that they're raised, the way that we're trained to raise men, hindi natin sila tunuturuan to do shit for themselves kasi may nanay naman sila. Pag kinasal sila, may asawa naman sila. So they don't know how to do shit. Of course, gagamit sila ng chatbots, di ba? Of course, gagamit sila ng AI to do their work. And of course, me as a man, I'm gonna be drawn to this robot who in media has always been depicted as this sexy, attractive woman who will do whatever I say, who is subservient to me. Pero syempre, this is not to say that women don't fall for it too, especially with things like character AI or kapag nakikita nyo in extreme cases yung mga nagpapakasal sa AI boyfriends nila, ganyan. Kasi nga, men suck. They suck. They don't know how to be in romantic relationships. So, to my girlies, I see you. I see the vision. I see bakit kayo nagpapakasal sa AI. Pero nakikita natin, di ba, yung widespread use of ChatGPT as companions, it's just a way para tapalan yung kagustuhan natin ng genuine human connection. All of this actually reminds me of a passage I read from the book Lurking by John McNeill. This book was written in 2020, 2 years bago i-release ng OpenAI ang ChatGPT. So wala pa masyadong generative AI dito. So here the author is talking about Google search and parang yung autocomplete, Google autocomplete. And tinry niya lang mag-type na parang I am an age, tas kung ano lalabas. So for example, I am 15 and I have never been kissed, or I am 70 and a virgin. And she writes, it is common to feel stigmatized or ashamed for asking questions or wanting things, but the internet offers an illusion of the eyes and ears of no one, not even a priest behind the curtain, just you and the network. And yung impulse to Google things like that is the same impulse that urges us to talk to ChatGPT about our personal problems. Kasi these are vulnerable things that can be hard to admit, pero it's still something that bothers us. It's still something that plagues us. So we have to find an outlet for us to process it, to articulate our feelings about it. And unfortunately, sa ChatGPT natin siya ginagawa. We turn to the internet where we are anonymous, where we can find a feeling of being found without being exposed. And in that book, when you Google something like, I am 15 and is it okay that I have never been kissed? Or when you tell ChatGPT about your problems, you're trying to fight the feeling of being alone without ever admitting that you feel alone. Kasi nga may stigma that comes with admitting that you're lonely. May stigma that comes with admitting that you need someone's help, that you need someone's attention. But again, ChatGPT may be doing a good job on the surface, pero it's just mimicking what a real friend would say. Similar to the users who would Google things like, I am 70 and still a virgin. Kung anumang search results niyan, kung anumang Reddit forum ang lumabas dyan, mga tao pa rin naman ang nagsusulat ng mga binabasa mo sa internet. At mga tao, mga totoong tao din ang pinanggalingan ng mga ginagayahan ni ChatGPT. Totoong tao ang ginagaya niya. So why not cut the middleman and just talk to a real person? the fact that we are developing parasocial relationships with AI, with ChatGPT, with chatbots, reminds me so much of convenience culture. Kung paano mag-operate ang fast food, ang fast fashion, I feel like right now we're also craving fast friendship. Now, we want the connection, we want the rewards of connecting with someone without the friction that comes with actual human friendship. We want to be listened to without listening in return. We want to talk about our problems without hearing someone else talk about theirs. We want just to be the center of the universe. We want a village but we don't want to be a villager. Gusto ko lang ding i-reiterate, lagi naman tong sinasabi sa internet. Pero the price of community is inconvenience. Like, that is so true. And it's not even an inconvenience na mahirap lagpasan. It's literally just going out kahit pagod ka na. Ang laki namang inconvenience yan. Napakalaking problema naman yan. 'Di ba? Friendship is what gives our lives so much meaning. It gives my life so much meaning. It gives me so much purpose. I love being friends with my friends. And I can't even imagine my life without them. So siguro if may takeaway na lang, if may takeaway na lang from everything that I said, it's just to make time for your friends. Keep friendship a priority. I want you to talk to your friends more. I want you to share your problems with them. Yung mga journal natin, it doesn't have to stay there. You can share it with someone else. That is the point of everything. That is the point of life. Yan ang punot dulo ng existence natin sa daigdig na ito. So kung meron ka mang tatandaan sa lahat ng pinagsasabi ko today, talk to your friends, love them deeply, and fuck ChatGPT. Thank you for listening to this podcast will fix me. Has it fixed me? Parang hindi pa. So come back next week for a new episode. And thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year!